right, gang. Last night I asked you a tough question. Why is God important to me? And while you guys had a great discussion last night and I loved hearing about it, I figured I should kind of key in a little bit here and give you my side to that question. A lot of you guys know I lived my own life. I kind of did my own thing for quite a while, and it didn't work out so well for me. But then it's not just I walked forward and prayed a prayer type of thing, but I actually experienced God, and I've had conversations with Him since. And in the midst of that, I realized that there's a better life, and it's through Him. And in that life is where the fullness truly is. Some people may experience really all the good things in life and say, well, I don't know that I really want God to be a part of this equation. And I get that. But have you ever experienced Him in that? If you say, well, no, because I don't need to, you don't really know if you are experiencing the fullness. There may be so much more than what you're experiencing. And how can you say that I have everything I need if you don't know what He has to give you? And God has so much more than what we know. He has a greater perspective, and He sees our life in a full sense, and from birth to death, and we see it one day at a time. And we can look in the past and learn, but we only see it one day at a time. And He's reliable, He's trustworthy, and I believe that He has a greater plan for my life than what I can come up with. We know from John chapter 3 that God longs to have that connection, and He doesn't come here to condemn us, but He comes here to bring connection with Him. And a lot of times we say, well, yeah, but if I pray the prayer, I get to go to heaven. And that's that salvation in that regard. But I believe that He wants to save us every day and draw us closer to Himself every day. And the thing we like to do, though, and it talks about this in John chapter 3, in verses 19 through 21, is a lot of times we like to hide things from Him and say, you know what, I got this. You don't need to do this. And we kind of keep it to ourselves. And we like to, kind of box it up and say, this is mine. I can handle this. You do your thing. You're God. You have a lot to take care of. But I got this. And in the midst of that, He's saying, you don't know that. I have a greater plan for you. John 3:19 starts off, it says, this is the verdict, that light has come into the world, but people love darkness, or our own plans, instead of the light, because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light, for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what they have done has been done in the sight of God. Now, I would love for at the end of my life, not just the heaven bit, and there's that, but what I would really love is to say, here's my life, and I lived it as I thought you were leading, and it is a full life, and you saw the whole thing, and it was fun, man. I had a blast living this life. Thank you. Thank you for giving me something much greater than I could come up with myself. I would love to have that. I would hate to get there and be like, I didn't know I could have all this. I didn't know that you could have been doing all this stuff throughout my life. I didn't know that you could be in control of my everything, my finances, my marriage, my children, and so on and so forth. I would hate to kind of come across that at the end of life and look back and say, geez, it could have been a lot better. And so that's what I'm experiencing God even now. There's a similar type of story in the Bible. It's in John chapter 4. And what happens is Jesus meets this woman at the well, and she's the type of person that people like to talk about, and she's kind of getting water at the well at a little bit of an odd time, and so there's a lot of speculation that she might not have been well accepted in the town. Well, while she's there, and she's not really the type of person that the Jewish people get along with. There's a whole race issue there. Well, Jesus comes and He meets her. He said, would you mind getting me a drink of water? And she said, well, why would you want me to get you a drink of water? I'm not following. And He goes on and He starts talking to her a little bit. And He says, I could give you water that you wouldn't thirst anymore. And she's pretty excited to hear more about this. And then He talks to her and says, this whole Messiah thing, I'm the Messiah. And she knew who that was. And so in the midst of that, she jumped on it, and she got so excited and that she was actually being talked to by the one that God was sending here to save the world, that she runs back into her town to tell them that I met Him. And sure enough, the entire town comes out. And what happened in there is a part of the story. That's interesting, is Jesus says to her, before she takes off of the town, she said, why don't you go get your husband and come back here and meet me? And she said, no, I don't really have a husband. He said, you spoke right. You've had 5 husbands, and you were with the guy, and he's not your husband. And she says, how do you know this stuff? And he said, that's where it comes out that he's the Messiah. And she's experienced, in that moment she experiences him, experiences God, and says, this is different. Something's different here. Why would this guy who's sent here by God, not just a guy, but the Messiah, the Christ, why would he want to talk to me? Why would he want to have a conversation, have this moment of connection with me? Why would he want to do that with me? And then she goes back to the town and tells the town, they come out to meet him. And as they come out and meet him, he just talks to them, and he just connects with them like he wants to with us. And he wants us to have a more full life. And here's one of the verses that sticks out, and there's John 4:42. It says, they said to the woman, that meaning in the town, they spoke to the woman, we no longer believe just because of what you said, just because of your experience. Now we have heard ourselves, and we know that this man really is the Savior of the world. We've experienced him, and we know that he's the Savior. So my point in all this is, for God to be important to us, we must experience him in a truly loving, truly gracious, truly saving way. And when I say saving way, it's not just that I prayed the prayer and I'm going to make it to heaven. It's not that. It's the daily salvation, the daily thing where we see him saving us and making us better, saving us and giving us a greater life, and through his grace showing us that. And I believe that that's why he's important to me. Because I've messed a lot of stuff up, but he didn't come here to condemn me. He came here to connect me. And I've experienced that. And when I experience it, I realize that he has so much more to offer than I could even imagine. There's great joy in my life because of what he's done, because of what he's continuing to do. So the challenge is, have you felt his love? And in what ways? And just sit back and take some time and think about it. In what ways have I felt his love? And in what ways have I experienced his grace today? And then in what way have I felt his salvation, or felt that saving time in my life? Not just in my life, but even today. How is he moving me through this and showing me that he wants to be connected to me today? I believe if we experience that, I believe that is when we see our life changing, and we see that he grows more and more important to us every day. Until next time.